Hey guys, just wanted to vent a little bit. Um, Went to go do the Mustang wiring, and I've been running into some issues with it. Um, hasn't been working out right, and the schematics that they gave me with it are not exactly right. The schematics are just like the schematics that the factory car had, but their harness is different because the car was converted to a car with gauges instead of lamps. And I didn't know what that meant at first. But it's a round gauge is the speedometer is round, and then it has round gauges out beside it. Then the lamp style has a hand that travels across, so the speedometer gauge is long, and then it has like the fuel and the temperature, and then it has dummy lights for like oil and whatever. So I learned that during this process. Uh, couldn't figure out how to get power into the car. There was a wire missing from the alternator up to the starter solenoid. On the Ford, it's on the side of the fender. There was not a white wire with a black stripe on the alternator up to a fourth peg. They were only using 3 pegs on the alternator. And then in the voltage regulator, it has 4 prongs. It was only using the lower 3, and the top one was missing. And I wasn't getting no power in it. I was on the phone with the guy at the place where it was purchased yesterday, and then he called me back, and they couldn't figure out what it was, and this, and they gave me told me this, and it was just a bunch of stuff. But what I'm getting at with this video is it kind of hit me on the way home, because my wife Erin had said something that made a lot of sense. But the guy that I'm doing the job for asked me about doing the job, said that he carried it somewhere, and he's like, yeah, the harness is gonna be $800, and I figure $1,000 is what it would cost to install it. And I agreed to do the job, and got over there and got it all in about 4 hours the first day. I was there from 10 to 2 on the first day. 4 hours. I got the under the hood done, the headlights, the engine harness, all that swapped out. I had ran the alternator harness, but I had ran into some problems on the alternator. Like I said, there was only 3 wires connected to the alternator when the factory harness had 4 wires. There was a wire from the alternator up to the starter solenoid that was no longer there. The voltage regulator had 3 wires, didn't have 4. Just a bunch of things that was going in, and I was like, well, I'll try it because the guy says that this is what it needs and that it'll work this way. So I done been over there about 3 different times from like 10 o'clock till 1 o'clock. So about 3 days at 3 hours. And, my shop rate at the shop was $75 an hour. And when somebody tells you what they're going to pay you, you probably shouldn't accept. You should stick to what your rate is and by the hour, because you run into problems like this. And I hate, doing it that way, because it's not problems that they would know about. He obviously, it's not his fault. He didn't know. But here I am, 4 days into the job, thinking that I'm going to go over there this morning, finish it up, and get paid. Because right now, with the shop been closed. It's been closed for a couple months now, and I haven't got no check. I've been at home. I've got, unemployment up until now. So then I've been trying to find odd jobs to do with people at church and around that I can make some money until my shop gets finished here so that I can go back to building and making a paycheck, because Erin's working and she's not getting paid what she made at the shop. So we're struggling right now. Bills, not having the money come in that we're used to, which we don't need much. We don't have no super fancy house. We do have a house payment, and it's been kind of cold, so the gas bill has been crazy for the propane. That it's outrageous, and we've had to fill the tank twice. And we have our little power bill, which has been kind of up because Erin's mom lives with us right now, and she's here all day, whereas when me and Erin were working, we were hardly ever here, and when we were outside. So then we've got the storage building that we had to put everything out of the shop into it. So we have 3 storage units at $120 each. We actually had 4. We still got 4. We have 5. We were up to over $500 a month in storage fees. And so we take on another $500 a month payment on something with me not having a job. But where I'm getting at is I was doing this job. I should have did it by the hour, which still wouldn't, I don't guess would give me a paycheck right now. We've got a little money set aside for something that Erin needs. Something just fell on the roof. I don't know what it was. I guess a limb. The wind's been horrible. But I'll go check on it in a minute. That's just something else I need. But not getting a check from that. So I went over there today, was fooling with it, trying to figure out, because I seen that I looked online, you can run the cylinder, the voltage regulator with 3 wires. The alternator will run with 3 wires. I finally found out why I wasn't getting power. This harness had a different spot that hooked into the back of the ignition switch that gave it power. But when I plugged it in, the fan was automatically blowing on the heater. And I was on the phone with the guy when I plugged it in, and, just trying to figure out what that was, and he couldn't tell me. So I was like, I'm just going to plug it into the back of the switch, because it's right there at it, and it looks like what it would do. So I plugged it in, everything powered on, ignition, the courtesy lights, all that stuff was working, but the fan was blowing. And I was like, I don't know why the fan's blowing. He's like, well, you must have wires crossed. And I was like, yeah, probably so. I said, I'll figure it out. I was like, I appreciate your help, and I hung up. I got out there and I looked. There was only 2 wires into the heater. I swapped them, and plugged it back in. It was still blowing. So then I got to looking at the little switch, and it's a 2-speed fan switch. I guess center's off, one side's low, one side's high, or maybe it's off. And I moved the switch, and nothing happened. I got to looking at the back side of it. There was no wires on it. So I started looking at the harness to see if there was a spot for wires. Couldn't find no wires on it. I looked at the old harness, and I seen the plug that plugs into it. And I was like, well, this harness don't have those plugs. This harness was for the gauge model car. The alternator harness is missing one of the wires, and it's for a gauge car. The headlight system is missing the wire to the top of the voltage regulator. It's for a gauge car. So all these things was tying into it being a gauge car. So I was like, this is just not going to work. The car has the gauge cluster in it now, but it originally had the lamp light cluster. So I pulled all the wiring out. The guy that I'm doing the job for ain't at home, so I've got to get with him on that. So now I've got to send all that back, wait on the other harness to come, and hope that I can figure out how to wire it to a gauge style cluster, with it being a lamp style harness, which is what they had in the car, and they had it working somewhat, but that's the reason he was changing out the harness, is because some of the stuff wasn't working. I guess I will get to that when I get to it. But the main point of the video, even though I done went 10 minutes, 11 minutes now, I left from there. I was on my way home, and I messaged Erin. I said, I'm on the way home. The Mustang has turned into a nightmare. And she's like, yeah, and I guess you haven't gotten paid on it. And I said, nope. And she says, well, we can go into the money that we have saved for what she needs. She's like, we're just going to use that. I hope I'm happy with what I'm doing right now. And we'll use that money to get us by. And I was like, we're not using that money. I'll just go get a job. Even though going to get a job is not gonna give me the money to make it right this minute, but hopefully I can get a job and I can put the money back if we have to use the money. But Erin sent back to me, she said, no good deed goes unpunished. And I was thinking about it all the way home, and I was like, I sent her back, I said, that statement could not be more true. No good deed goes unpunished. And that's what it is. I mean, you try to do something good, you agree to the price, instead of doing it by the hour like you normally do, and it ends up biting you. Because now I'm back at square one. All the harness is pulled out. I pulled all of it, took the dash back apart. I had already had all the dash back together, except for I didn't have the cluster put up in there yet until I had a few little loose wires that needed to go to places, and I couldn't figure out where they wanted to go. So I spent 3 hours today chasing it down, finding this out, and pulling all the harness back out. Took the whole grill back out, headlights, the whole engine harness out, and all that. But no good deed goes unpunished. I just wanted to vent with you guys. Also let you know that I'm still here, and I hope to have a shop if that's the way that God leads me. I hope that I have a shop and I can continue on building. But right now, things are just hard. We've got a lot of other stuff going on in our life that's put us behind on stuff. But it's really hard. I don't know what to pray for anymore. But God knows what I need, and I'm not gonna bash God for anything that's happening to me and that's happened to us. I'm just gonna praise Him, because I know that His plan is greater than mine, and I know that He'll provide. I know that somewhere, somehow, money will come through, and we'll make it another month. And if we don't, I'm still going to glorify God. I'm not going to hate Him for it and blame Him. He knows what He's got in store for me, and all I got to do is just hold faith and trust that He's going to provide, and that He's going to make things better, and it will all be for His glory. And that's it. I mean, sometimes it's hard, but we got to praise Him in the storm. We can't just go through life praising God when everything's good, and then when it goes bad, stop praising Him. Like I say, He's looking at the picture from above, and He can see everything. He can see the whole outcome of where this part of the valley is going to take me, whereas I'm looking ahead and all I see is the hills. he can see what's on the other side of the hills. I love you guys, and I'll pray for everyone on here. And I hope that everybody is hanging in there, and I hope that I get back to making videos, and that I get to talk with you guys more. I love you. Thanks for the support. If you ain't a subscriber to the channel, please subscribe. Please like. Please comment. If you have any questions, ask me. I hope that I can be a light for the ones that are lost, and the ones that are doubting. God's got it. That's all it is. God's got it, and then He's going to see me through. And I love you guys, and I'll see y'all on the next video.